Hello, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. This is a meeting of the SIG Release Engineering subproject. This is a meeting that will be recorded and available on the internet, so please be mindful of what you say and do. Please be sure to adhere to the Kubernetes Code of Conduct, and in general, just be awesome people. So today I decided to do something fun for, varying definitions of fun. We're going to do a live demo of the release process for the image promoter and kind of all the PRs that are required for that. So I figured, I've been working on some promotion tool stuff lately, and what better way to show it off than to just do it live, right? So I see that there are a bunch of, or maybe a few new faces on the call. Before we get started, if anyone wants to say hi, introduce themselves, mention why you're here, and then we can get rolling.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, my name is Nikhil Sharma, and I'm 18 years old, learning about Docker and Kubernetes. Done few courses of Brad Fisher, and right now learning about Golang and figuring out how to contribute to these projects. So just
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Hi, my name is Mohit Sharma. I'm from Australia, and it's mid of the night right now. And yeah, just a big fan of Kubernetes. I already is a Kubernetes administrator certified, and this is my first meeting to join, and looking forward to contribute my contribution towards the open source Kubernetes.
Awesome. Welcome.
Hello. Mohammed here from Saudi Arabia. I'm participating in this meet for the third time, I think. I attend this meeting. I'm willing to learn more about the process, and yeah, I want to contribute. So I'm watching and learning. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Mustafa. It's also my third week here. I applied to the Shadow team, the release team. I applied to CI Signal, but I didn't get it. So I'm just attending this round to know, to watch and know more about the process of the release, and hopefully apply next time too. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Great. Welcome. Anyone else?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Hey everyone, my name is Shivam Tyagi and I'm from India. So previously I have contributed to the Kubernetes Hindi localization effort, and by then my interest kind of grew, and a few friends suggested to attend these meetings, Zoom calls, and I'm here wishing to learn some new stuff.
Welcome.
Thanks.
All righty. Is there anyone else? All right. Well, I am going to get rolling on this. I'm just doing some setup in the background and closing some sensitive windows.
Hello.
Hello?
Sorry for being late.
Hey.
Adolph is joining as well.
Awesome. Great. So while we're waiting, can you, okay, you've already actually approved the PR. I want to see if there are any objections on the v3 module before we proceed. I'd sent that out yesterday. I don't know. But Carlos, you're a +1. Adolfo, would love to get Adolfo or Veronica would love to get a +1 from you before we roll.
Are my +1s valid? I never know. Because
Everyone's
sometimes
+1 is valid. Everyone's +1 is valid.
Always.
Okay. No, but not emotionally, but like for the robots. Like, do I have? I feel that for some tasks, when I put the LGTM tag, sometimes it doesn't do anything with mine.
Every org member should have has LGTM access. Well, like it'll automatically mark as LGTM if you mark it. Not everyone has approve access. Once the consensus is complete for the proposal to present you as a release manager, fully fledged release manager, you will have approved access in several areas. So
yeah, no, okay, fine. I just didn't know because sometimes, yeah, I did that and it was lame.
okay. All right, so I'm going to get rolling, but I want to get consensus on this because it will take some time for the test to run, and we should not release without it. So if everyone is good, please take a moment to go into that Slack thread and mark that you are happy to see a v3 module. Alrighty. Rather, maybe not on the Slack thread, but actually on the PR if you want to do the LGTM approve there. Here is the PR. Just start sharing the screen and let me know if you can't see the screen. Sweet. Firefox taking its time. Firefox not responding. Fun start to this demo. Firefox hopefully not trying to open all of the previous tabs that I had open. Firefox is trying to do that. Okay. Okay, trying to do it again. Lovely. I'm going to stop sharing results at first. So how many people are familiar with the image promoter while I do some things in the background, or artifact promotion in general for the Kubernetes project? Release managers, you're not familiar at all with this process?
We raised our hands, but
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't have the screen up. It's like, okay, now I'm worried. All right. Okay, and I'm looking in the chat. Not so much. A few not so muches. Okay, no's. All right. So so kind of the purpose behind this started off in, I want to say 2019 or so, if maybe the early parts of 2019. We were kind of on a journey to create some approval process between the way that we basically the way that we move artifacts from staging environments to production. The background there is that if you're familiar with like the working group Kate's Infra, Working group Kate's Infra is responsible for Working Group Kate's Infra is responsible for essentially all of the Kubernetes community infrastructure, and the larger mandate, or at least the initial mandate, of moving our infrastructure from Google-owned infrastructure over to Kubernetes community-owned infrastructure, right? So we wanted to ensure that folks would have the opportunity to contribute to Kubernetes in the same way, or like, you know, in an equal way, compared to, you know, regardless of what company you're from, right? So because Kubernetes was you know, its genesis was in Google, a lot of our infrastructure is still owned by Google. That is quickly moving to community-owned infrastructure, which is really awesome to see. So part of you know, part of this process is one of the fun things you'd see is that often, you know, we may not be able to push changes to base images, or we'd have to like ping a Googler to be able to do that, or find the right Googler that had access to push for that specific image, right? That is a lot less true today than it was before. One of the artifacts of this that you'll still see in the release process today, the Kubernetes release process today, is that the last mile of the release process for generating the debs and RPMs for the release, publishing those are still done by Googlers, right? So we have this team called the Google Build Admins, with a bunch of folks that you may know already. So Ben Elder, Aaron Krickenberger, Amwat, and I think maybe 2 other folks are on that group. But suffice it to say, that is not an ideal state for any of our artifacts. We want to make sure that everyone can contribute in the same way. So one of the means of kind of doing this is creating this container image promoter process to ensure that we are able to, people are able to push things to a staging bucket, and then 2, they're able to then promote those artifacts into a production space, right? So our production space is namespaced as, at least for container images, kates.gcr.io. That is essentially a window into us.gcr.io, asia.gcr.io, and eu.gcr.io, right? And forwarder to the relevant region. Got something in the chat. Yes, Grant. All right, so the first PR that I just released was an init of the v3 module for the container image promoter. If you're interested in seeing more about, reading more about the container image promoter and how it works, I won't be doing too much of the introductory, but I'm happy to go back with questions later. Take a look at that, as well as this here. And while that is happening, I'm also going to release, before I paste that link, I'm also going to release the other PR. And then we can walk through what those PRs are doing. I just want to make sure that it's doing the retest while I'm talking. So, right. So we can see that this PR was approved. Away we go. I'm also noting that I put a squash on this one so that when it merges, it will be a single commit instead of the commit, as well as the merge commit. Cool. So here are the docs that explain a little bit more about managing Kubernetes registries, and kind of the background on the process. And if there's anything that's missing, anything that you'd like to see, please feel free to let us know. We're hanging out in the release management Slack channel, as well as SIG release on Slack. Release managers at kubernetes.io, and you can also file issues in any of our repos to discuss. So this init v3 module, I will not go into too much of the fun that was involved in getting us to this point, but we had Bazel in a repo. We no longer have Bazel in a repo. It was causing issues with initting v2 plus modules for Go. So there's lots of back and forth transiting packages between both the image promoter repo as well as the release repo to get us into a state where we were able to update some of these packages. That is no longer true. So I ran a tool called mod from Marwan at work, which is pretty simple. All it does is, it walks through the repo, and you can pass it a tag or a version to bump to. You can also just do this manually, but mod upgrade, and I want to upgrade to v3, right? So I had actually walked this repo backwards. It's part of the reason I wanted to record this. I walked this repo backward because it was not an official v3 repo. And we can see lots of fun tags. This was the walking backwards. I chose this lead tag to let you know that like something weird's going on. But we're at the place now that Basil is gone from the repo that we have been able to migrate all the packages in, as well as continue to cut releases. And now we're at a place where we can cut that v3 release. So that's what we're doing today. Walking through this PR super quickly, we'll see two things happening. And I just committed these as separate separate commits for readability. The first one is very simple. We're just adding that /v3 to the Go mod file. The second one is the replace of all of the import paths for our packages. So just a bunch of v3s everywhere. Nothing too exciting about this PR. And then the release commit one that's on track to merge is so it's in retest right now. So the retest that I was talking about, if you're not familiar with the Kubernetes infrastructure, basically what happens is we have a bot called or CI/CD solution called Prow. Prow is in control of many of the jobs that run across the project, including the pre-submits. So they report to GitHub context how the tests are doing in general. So we have this CLA check. We have Tide. Tide is what basically pulls all the PRs in and tries to do a batch merge of these PRs, right? And then you can see the tests that are passing, as well as the tests that are still running, as well as which ones are required or not required. So looking at Tide, if you ever wanted to look at, see what's going on with the PR in particular, you can see that it's in the pool. It's in the Tide pool, right? And the test is pending. If we look at Tide status overall, we'll see that there are a bunch of things going on in Tide. So for Kubernetes, which is a busier repo, it's waiting. It's got 2 PRs in a batch. It's got 1 passing. It's got a few that are queued for retest. What it wants to try to do is make the most efficient merge, right? So it'll try to batch a bunch of PRs together. If your PR is not in that batch, it will wait until that batch is complete. If a PR is like a candidate for merge before that batch is complete, it may add it to the batch and start a retest, right? So that's what some of these statuses are for. But here we can see that for the container image promoter repo and the master branch, we're in a wait pattern, and it's getting ready to merge that commit. It's just waiting for the tests to complete, right? So last one, or actually it looks like all of them have, it's just waiting for the context to update, and then it will merge this PR, right? All right. So a few of the things that we have to do when we're doing a release, 3 of the things that we have to consider, the release content itself, generating release notes. What are the artifacts that we produce as a result of this release? Where do they need to go? And what is actually referencing them once they get to where they need to be, right? So while this is running in the background, I'm going to intuit some of the things that are supposed to be happening, or the places that things are supposed to go. And I'm going to prep those PRs so that we can kind of see if we can get this all done within the scope of this call, right? So if my screen is too small, let me know. Try to make the font readable. So right now I am in the test infra repository. I am going to just make sure that I am on master, and I'm going to do a quick reset, and then I'm going to check out a new branch for, let's call this CIP 3.2.0. Right. So container image promoter version 3.2.0. Okay, and most of the things that are supposed to be open are already open because I've been working on some of this before. I will also make this font bigger. Just give me a second. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. So I know that the previous release of the container image promoter was 2.4.1, right? So because I know that, I can kind of just quickly search for the references to 2.4.1. And we're going to do just a quick replacement on this, right? Search replace. So I'm going to go from 2.4.1 over to, I want to also clean up this this URL. So this should be, so that kind of short name that I was mentioning before, kates.gcr.io, your images, your container images, promotion is happening as expected, should land in essentially a namespace repo. So it would be, you know, kates.gcr.io are maps to, will map to US, Asia, EU.gcr.io/Kates artifacts prod / the name of your project / the name of your image : your tag, right? So I'm just updating that here to be kates.gcr.io / the name of the project, which is just artifact promoter, and the name of the image, and v3.2.0. So quick and painless. Now there's another promotion tool for file promotion that is called kpromo, basically K promotion tool, or whatever you want to kind of posit that the name is cool with us. So I'm also what I did in that merge commit, and I'll show that in a, well, I did in the squash commit, and I'll show that in a bit, was that I just wanted to get these versions in line, because the end state for these images, the end state for all of the tools in this repo is that it will be one tool, right? One tool that we can just pick up and go and do file promotion or image promotion. And if there is some time, I will try to walk through quickly some of the file promotion stuff. But I'm going to change the tag here for the promotion for the K promo tool as well, right? So that has been changed. I'm going to just do a git diff and see what I actually changed. And scrolling down, just spot checking. And that's cool. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to do commit to, that's the config directory. Make sure I sign my commits. And I'm going to say this is releng promo tools bump images to the 2.0. Cool. Sweet. So please, if you have questions, okay, cool. All right. But please, if you have questions, feel free to shout them out, because I'm showing my screen. I'm also not looking at the chat. Funny. That's okay. That's funny. I was trying to hit escape and escape was whatever. Push. All right. So I'm just showing, that those are my remotes. So I'm pushing to my fork. What's this called? CIP. Right. Cool. Now I'm going over to the test info repo, and we can walk through some of, if we have time, we can walk through some of what those tests are doing. But I'm going to start speeding up a little bit more. Actually, is my pace too fast, too slow? Are there gaps? What do you want to know?
Can accelerate a bit.
Accelerate a bit.
Yeah. From
Okay.
my side. Like 1.2x.
1.2x. All right. All right. So, okay. All right. Cool. 1.2x. All right. For CIP release the 0, and I'm just gonna leave some breadcrumbs here, but because one, this release doesn't exist yet, and the images do not exist in these locations, I want to make sure I hold this PR so I don't cause a disruption for tests that are actually using this for release. Image motion. Cool. So we've got another PR submitted. Now, where do we need to go next? Well, honestly, we need to wait for this image. We need to wait for this release commit to merge. It's taking, that auditor test is taking its sweet time today. So I guess in the meantime, we will look at CIP MM, which is container image promoter merge manifest. Now this is a really fun thing that, all right, we'll stay on v2. Actually, we'll switch over to master and just reset that. And then we're gonna install the CIPMM. And that's going to land in my my binary directory for Go, and my computer is funky with the Go path. I won't try to fix that on this call, but suffice it to say, I'll use the full path for the next operations. So I'm going to go over here. I'm now in the kates.io repo, and this one is on main, and I'm going to do a remote update, right? And just to take a look at the structure, right? Here, actually, reset. Cool. All right, so this won't work immediately, but I'll show you. So, say if we look at Crane and we do, Crane digests, say kates.gcr.io /artifact promoter /CIP B21241, right? We should see something there, right? Get to digest. So that's the digest, as well as, if you want to see the manifest, that's the manifest, right? Now, if we were to do the same for 3.2.0, again, we should get a bad response, right? So what's happening in the background, hopefully this thing is, what? Okay, cool, lovely. Okay, all right, it's merged. I think it's merged. It's merged, sweet. All right, we're gonna jump back into that repo really quickly and do the stuff that we need to do releases. All right, so really simple. Since we've got that merge commit, we've got a squash commit. So on the top of this repo right now should be some new commits. And I'm just going to reset again. I do reset because I'm paranoid. That's super cool. If we do really quick, we can see that release commit has popped up. If we want to see extended part of the log, you can see that, right? You can see these are, and we can also see that this commit is, all right, forgot the flag. Anyway, not super important. Going to hit that tag -s. All right, so what's happening here is I am -s for signed, -m for the message. I'm creating a v3.2.0 tag, and I'm just setting the message to the version number, right? This will create a signed annotated tag for Git to use that we can release off of. And now, right, we can see that that tag is there. So it's on my local, but it is not where it needs to be, right? So again, I'll show you the remotes, right? So I have a few different remotes. This is for Justin Santa Barbara. This is Linus. This is the actual upstream with HTTPS. This is the upstream with Git instead, right? So I tend to use Git for personal operations, including, and then my origins are usually set to HTTPS, because if I decide that I will want to go through the fun of finding my token and putting it into GitHub token and doing the authentication, then I usually don't. I usually don't. So I tend to only use the HTTPS when I know I'm just pulling, and I'll use Git if I know I'm doing some sort of potentially destructive operation, right? So now I'm going to do a potentially destructive operation, which is to push up the tags.
Just a quick question. Those other remotes that you have, are you just pulling from their changes, or do you actually push to like Justin's branch and things like that, or Justin's repository?
It depends. It depends. Not very often, but on the off chance that we need to collaborate on a PR and someone's got some work in progress, you know, the commits by default will, the branches by rather the PRs by default will allow edits from maintainers. So if I need to jump in and do something to one of those branches, I do, we'll be able to. Cool. Right, so we can see the tag is live now, right? And we can poke at the tag and we can see the tag is even verified with my GVG key ID. Lovely, secure. All right, 3.2.0. So I'm not going to show off the I'm not going to show off the release notes tool because again, I would have to go find my token and accidentally leak it live, and we're just not going to do that. So I'm part of an alpha right now for GitHub's auto-generated release notes. So I have access to do what I just did, which is essentially automatically generate some release notes, right? So it's pretty sweet. And then, you know, it also gives a little link to the changelog, which you can thumb through at your leisure. What's interesting is that okay, right, that wasn't even the last release. That's interesting. So something to think about later. So when the versions change, the major version changes, there might be a logic issue. Our most recent release was 1.3.3.9.0, and the most recent release was 3.1.0. Just saying that for context. All right, so off to the races. Hit publish on this release. 3.2.0 is live. Woo. All right. And we've got this little, you can see the contributors, and if we poke into my email, we can see that
contributor icon is from something from GitHub, or
that's the first time I'm seeing it.
Oh.
So interesting. But anyhow, like if you're subscribed to the repo, subscribed to the releases, you would have just gotten an email that, hey, new release. Sweet. All right, cool. So now what's happening in the background is there is an image build happening, right? So I'm going to jump over to not die, but prow. And if I type in not promo, CIP dash star, let's do that. Nope. Let's do post. Right. Post image. Post CIP push image CIP 1103. That recently ran, which means we are almost off to the races, right? So within each repo that kind of subscribes, or repo that chooses to subscribe to the image promotion process and kind of the way that we have a few things set up, they will have a cloud build file. Cloud build file will eventually, at the end of it, you should get, don't worry about the red, you should get a few images spit out, right? We've got this K-promo one, and these are running in parallel the way this cloud build is configured right now. I will show that very quickly. Right. So it's running with a reasonable timeout. It's using a larger machine. It's allowing for substitutions to be missing. Substitutions is the cloud build verbiage for environment variables, essentially. And then we can see we have some substitutions set here. Pull base ref, git tag, image version, go version, and the code name for the OS, which is currently Buster, right? I've tagged this as both CIP as well as K-promo because we're producing both images. And then it's going to expect, there's still some weirdness to work out with the CIP ones in particular for the image checks, but it's going to expect at the very least that the K-promo images for AMD 64 are released with these versions, image version, image tag, and latest, right? So theoretically, you could use gcr.io/Kate's staging artifacts promoter /K-promo AMD 64 latest in your jobs. And as long as you're okay with us pushing new content to those jobs, you'd be able to implement that, right? So two steps in this file. One is the make with some environment variables image push, right? That's the one for the container image promoter. The second one is bash. Now we're doing a few different variables, bash -c. We're doing a gcloud auth to just make sure Docker is configured. And then we're doing a make-f make file, separate make file, but a make manifest, right? So if you want to check out, we've got them split since we're not merging those two code streams just yet. But the results of this will be output on in Prow and Spyglass more specifically. And then if you wanted to see the logs for that job, I'm just going to point out, because I'm not sure a lot of people know about this, but this wait for, you can assign IDs to separate steps in Cloud Build configs. And by default, every step will wait for the previous step to have completed. And if not, it backs out, right? The wait for is basically saying, I'm not waiting for anything, right? So these steps will run in parallel instead of one after the other, right? which is kind of cool, which means we can, shave, a few minutes off of the image build time. And we can see within the execution details what some of these variables end up becoming. We've got the OS code name, Buster, still the same, pull base ref master. The git tag is basically it's the previous tag. Now that the repo is at a new version, the next time this runs, it will be the date, the date dash, basically gitish sha, which is the tag dash, the last commits since the commits since the last tag. So there are 42 commits ahead of the v1.3.3.8.0, and then a short version of the current SHA, right? So there's build ID, the Go version, and some other details, right? So it's expecting that I would have produced that image, and there's a link to that image. So it does indeed exist on the registry now, which means I can go back over to the kates.io repo, right? And I can actually instantiate the manifest promotion, right? So to do that, I'm going to hop into the kates.gcr.io folder, which contains all of the image manifests, and then I'm going to run. Hopefully, I have it in scroll back. Close enough, right? So the first one I'm running is I'll do the promoter. I'll do the file promoter to and promo, right? So I'm telling CIP to start with this. Actually, didn't need to. Right. So I'm telling CIPMM to, or again, container image promoter, merge manifests, to start, use its base directory as the directory that contains all of the manifests. I want you to jump into this staging repository, which is a staging repository that we just pushed to. I want you to filter by images named kpromo. This is not a greedy search. This is the exact name of the image. And then I want you to filter by the tag, the expected tag for kpromo, right? Drop a time in there, should be quick, right? So it's parsing through all of the manifests that are in that directory. It is rendering an update to the images.yaml. And we can see this update if we just hop into the code. All right, any questions while this thing is loading? I thought I recompiled the tools. Later. All right, so the artifact promoter, we can see that it now has updates, right? And what are these lovely updates? We can see that it has added something to the digest map. And the something that it's added to the digest map is the digest of the image that we are choosing to tag as 3.2.0-1 for kpromo, right? The next one I will do is for our next trick. We will do 3.2.0 because this one doesn't have a revision number. And then actually we will drop the filter tag because we want to catch both the auditor image as well as, ooh. What did we miss? It's possible that the kpromo, the CIP images are not actually, they might be tagging as the SHA and that git SHA that we showed earlier, and not the version itself, which is fixable. But yes, 10 minutes ago, we dropped this 2021 914 133.8.042 GE. And if you recall, that is the thing that we looked at previously. That's the tag that I was showing off previously. So I'm just going to copy that. And we're going to say, let's grab everything that is that tag. right? So now we've got some fun new updates here, right? So the first one, the two that we care about are here, here, and here. And then we're going to drop this kpromo AMD 64 one because it's actually included. This is a single image digest, and it's actually included as part of the FAT manifest for kpromo already, right? It's one of the architectures for kpromo, so we don't need to include both for the promotion, right? But we will do an edit here for 3.2.0. Note that SHA that just came in. I'm going to edit this so that for production, we want nice clean tags for use. So we're just going to edit those. Now, if the staging repository had already supported that, then we could have just pulled in, used CIPMM to pull in the exact tag. But we will fix that in a follow-up. Right. So let's look at the diff one more time. Okay. Right. So we're only promoting these three images: CIP, auditor, as well as kpromo. Right. And I am going to commit this case doot. Right. So challenge, promo tools, remotes, v3.2.0 images. Cool. Oh, Zoom, you're killing me. All right. Let me escape. So basically, to minimize the meeting controls, or the floating meeting controls, you use escape. And I'm also using escape to stop doing edits or get out of insert mode in Vim, which is why it's doing that fun thing. All right, so CIP promo push. Right, we are jumping into the repo. And so one, release managers, please take a look at this. Leave. Right, so this is the test info one for the actual bump of the images in use in CI. And then there is one for IO. Any moment now, it should tell me that. Okay. I was going to say any moment now, it should tell me that there is a new branch that I can cut a PR off of, but it doesn't want to. So. All right, that's our branch. Let's do stuff. So I'm just going to say that this is the promotion PR for, I will fill in the details. I just want to get this PR out. Release connects. All right. And we always want to try to leave these breadcrumbs around so that, if it comes down to investigation about like what was wrong with an image and why and what was the content in the image beforehand, we kind of can retrace our steps, right? So I try to always do this. And then we're just going to say image bump. PR is here. So test info. Cool. Updated comments. Release managers on the call, please approve. What's up?
If we do the screen digest on those images, we should get something, right?
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
I was going to go back to that, but I wanted to get the thing up first. So if we do it, we can do this digest again. I popped the PR in the chat. Please, release managers, please approve that. So I want to show off first, within. So I mean, we almost don't need to do this step because the fact that we were able to scrape those digests in in the CIPMM command means that they're available. Or this one will not be available because remember it was the SHA and not a tag, or a SHA or tag like SHA or SHA like tag as opposed to the production tag. But if we do this for the K-promo one, we will, or not.
Yeah, not.
Oh wait, no.
That's a dash one.
Yep. There we go. Right, and then same with.
Okay, we are in the order. Okay, got it.
Yeah. All right.
Too many things.
All right, so that's the AMD 64 manifest that I was talking about, and the one that we had. Just want to show. I'll show quickly that like if I was to run CIPMM again. Right, but for K-promo, actually not for K-promo, yeah, for K-promo, well, not for K-promo. I want to pull out that AMD 64 one, right? So it's going to run it, and you'll see there's a diff again. I just want to show that the K-promo AMD 64 image is indeed has the same digest as what we just grabbed from this FAT manifest, right? So digest for the AMD 64 672B, 672B, right? So it's doing functionally the same operation, and it's actually using some of the GGCR libraries to do so, right? So roughly the same flow, right? So we're going to go back and see. Okay, merged, sweet. Yay, love a quick merge, right? So we're going to jump back into the prow status this time. And this time I'm going to go kind of for like a, I don't know, star promo. Now, if I am patient. Wow, that was really great and quick. Okay, so what happens after one of these, and this is kind of the magic of the image promoter and why we kind of have this flow. So note, so basically walking through the flow of what I did, right? I did a new release for my project, right? Pretend I am not a, pretend I'm not a release manager for the project. I am maybe a release manager for a sub-project within the Kubernetes space, right? I created some new content through this call, right? Or merged some newer content through this call. I created a commit. I wired up my repo with a cloud build file and the respective things needed to make it work. And I pushed some new images. I grabbed the images from the staging repository. I ran a command to generate a manifest or update a pre-generated manifest to grab the digest of that new staging image. And then I issued a PR, right? And the PR was merged by people who were on, who are on my team or approvers for that space. The changes should now get lifted from the production area into, from the staging area into production, right? So let's see if that actually happened, right? So what I did was I went to prow, I searched promo, because promo is basically, is the suffix for most of these image or file promotion jobs, right? Now I've done that. We have something called the post-kates.io image promo. If you're familiar with kind of like the structure of the naming, at least the nomenclature for our tests, what we usually do is prefix of post or CI or pull, right? Pull for pre-submits, post for post-submits, CI for periodic jobs, right? So what just happened was a post-submit ran on the Kates.io repo for image promotion, right? If I jump into that post-submit, so note before what we looked at was the post-submit for the CIP repo to push the image for CIP, right? So that was a previous post-submit that we looked at. The new post-submit that we're looking at is very long log, because it's basically walking through all of the image digests that exist in the Kates.io repo, right? So looking at the Kates.io repo, we can see that all of these, projects, right? All of these projects, add-on manager, API snoop, artifact promoter, and each of these projects will have their own set of images, right? So dropping into like CI images is, I was going to say, it's a great example. Dropping into like, say, RelEng, right? We have a decent, we have a few different images. If we drop into, I guess what would be the canonical example for Kubernetes, the project overall, Kubernetes, we can see we have a bunch of, like, for performance reasons, document symbols have been limited to 5,000 items. Like, that's how many digests are in here, because we have been doing the image promotion for a while now for the Kubernetes repo. But again, you see conformance, you've got a conformance arm for all the architectures, conformance API, server, scheduler, controller manager, so on and so forth, right? So there are a lot of images to scan, which means we're going to get a decent amount of logs. So what the image promoter is doing is it's walking through, it's reading all this stuff. It's like, hey, I've read this registry, I've got the information that you want. It's going to compare it to these manifests and see if there's a diff. If there's a diff, it's going to say, like, well, these are the ones I need to promote. And you can see that happening towards the bottom of these logs. Eventually, we'll make them more human readable, but that will not happen on this call. But pending promotions, right? We get down to this inventory 2107, pending promotions here. And I will just make the screen. That was not super helpful, actually. Yeah, it rescaling. Okay. See if this is okay on a refresh. All right, and we can see this job ultimately, it only had a few things to do. It took 1 minute and 24 seconds. And part of that time was spent in, like, provisioning of the infrastructure, right? So again, we're loading the log, and hopefully you can see it a little better now that it's magnified. But towards the bottom, we'll see that 2107 line will tell you about the pending promotions, right? Pending promotion from the staging artifact promoter repo. I want to take the CIP image with this version and bring it up here. And here's the digest that I should be looking at to promote. Same is true for the auditor and Kate promo, so on and so forth. And we see copies of these, which are basically saying, hey, these are copies for each of the registries that we're pushing to, right? So it's going to Asia.gcr.io, US.gcr.io, EU.gcr.io. And then that backing Kates.gcr.io is going to front each of those, right? And now, again, we can work on some log improvements, but this is the actual request. It's begun the promotion, and it's going from, again, that staging up into production. And it's using this service account, the name of the image, the SHA, the tag. Okay, we did it, right? So now let's see, did we do it? Did we actually do it? Right, got a digest. And note the URL, or the FQIN, whatever you want to call it, for the auditor. And finally, for Kate promo. Okay, so these are all in production now, right? And that final step that I want to do is I actually want to flip a switch on bumping these images. That's a great point. That's a great point, Burka.
It now needs the other flag, right?
Huh?
It now needs the new flag.
Yeah. So what we should have done was support both. But let's go fix that. Is anybody else getting dizzy from jumping around from repo to repo? No, just me? Cool. All right, so I want to search each of the wow. All right. I want to just validate a few of these jobs. Right. So this one is doing a dry run, right? It's just using the CIP command. Nothing to change here. This one is doing also a dry run. Nothing to change here. This one says dry run equals false, right? So there is something to change here. And actually, because we move these to, really good catch. Really good catch, Adolfo. Because we move these over to Cobra, we'll also note that the flags are going to change. Double hyphen on the flag, and this is confirm. Right, this is an actual production run. That post image, that post Kate's image promo that I showed you the logs for previously, that's a production run. So we want to make sure that it has the confirm flag as opposed to that, because we switched from dry run equals false over to confirm. Right now, now we've got this one, which should have in manifest and right. And then we also have this test infra trusted one, which is going to be here. And boop. All right, and just for will be and actually things to change everywhere. Cool. So there are no changes required for K promo itself, but for the CIP, which has not been released in a while, it does require a change. I know I just did this. I'm going to do it again because I'm paranoid. And reset. And finally, I'm just going to do an install of CIP. And validate these flags locally. Oh, there's a run in there too. All right, level confirm. All right, so we're just walking through this stuff one more time, and we're going to add a run. And I know that we've gone quite a bit over. I appreciate everyone hanging out. I hope you're enjoying yourself, and this is useful spend of everyone's time. All right, so now we're also going to search for this, see if there's anything happening with the auditor. All right, so we've got this poll auditor E2E. All right, nothing to do there because we're not actually using an auditor image, but one more time here. All right, CIP run, thin manifest, manifest, manifest confirm. So these are running in trusted environments essentially, right? So these have special credentials. They have service account names that are bound. They're Kubernetes service accounts for GCP bound into service accounts for Kubernetes used on these Prow clusters. So we can see that this service account name for Kate's Infra, GCR promoter, and same is true here, right? So these are all production runs. These ones that are here, you can see that there's no service account here. It's just doing a dry run, right? So we want to make sure that it does not have, we do not have access to do destructive actions within a pre-submit, because that means that literally anyone could come to your repo, generate a hostile manifest, and issue a PR that would automatically run the pre-submits. If it's running in a trusted environment, it's going to do bad things if that is actually a hostile manifest. So we want to prevent that. So that's why those don't have service accounts attached. I think we're good. Do we feel good, Adolfo, other release managers at this point?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. All right, changes, running through the changes, run. Manifest, vulnerability, severity, thresholds, confirm, confirm, confirm. All right. So you know what I actually will do? What I'll do is I'll do this in two phases. Actually, I will do this. All right, some Git trickery. I'll add config, do an amends, but just so that we can actually see this move forward during the call, you'll note that there are a bunch of different directories here. One is sig release, one is test infra, one's Kate's infra. But you can see that within this trusted, there's a rel-eng section that we have approval to, rel-eng trusted, as well as approval for the pre-submits. What I'm going to do is I'm going to issue two PRs, right? The first PR we'll see on the call, hopefully see it merge on the call, will be for the rel-eng stuff, and then we'll roll forward the test infra stuff since that can be a bit noisier. So I just want to make sure that I am rebased. Should be fine. But now I'm going to grab this change that I done before. Let's look at pretty. Right. So I'm just going to grab what's happened in this PR. Ooh. This PR and make sure I keep that somewhere super safe. Scratchpad. And again, just looking at this file that we changed that we are going to now unchange for a brief portion of history. Check out origin, master, just that file. Right, so now we can see that we have unchanged the test infra stuff, and we will add config again. What just happened? Oh, okay, it's already staged. Right, and now if I just do, again, for super paranoid sake, diff head one name status, and we can see that just those two files have changed. So now we're going to push that up. Ooh, our computer. Force push. Right. So that is happening. And I will say this. Actually does. Okay, cool. So whenever we leave these breadcrumbs or we do holds and stuff like that, you should also try to come back. And if you said you were going to hold something for a reason, and the reason is the condition has been satisfied, you should come back and just kind of say this was done right. So it's really it's for all contributors, but in particular maybe being nice to your future self when you're trying to debug something that went weird. Separate PR for the test infra crowd bump. Cool. And then so we're gonna just copy what Delpho said. We're gonna say hold cancel. Right, and cool. Right, and this is just trying to be like good hygiene, especially for the recording. I'll just resolve that conversation. Cool. Awesome. So release managers, if you would like to. All right. So we did go a bit over. Again, I do hope it was useful. I want to try to answer some questions quickly if people have any. Yeah. Recap of what specifically, Mustafa? I did recap right before. Okay, all right. So for this last PR, we'll do a reshare quick. All right, so for this PR, basically what we did a lot of search and replaces, right? And again, walking through the PR step by step, the first part of the search and replace that we did was we did it prior to kind of put this PR up closer to the beginning of the call. We did it to kind of like intuit the changes that we were going to make, right? And kind of have the test run, see if anything was going to get mad at us, so to speak. Any of the pre-submits were going to yell, right? But we also put this PR on hold, right? We put this PR on hold because one, the release itself did not exist, and the image promotion PR did not exist either, right? The image promotion PR did not exist because the release didn't exist. Release and the staging image didn't exist, right? So we kind of like walked through looking at the whether or not the digest was there. We looked at the logs for the stage image builds themselves. We looked at creating the digest or updating the manifests to include the digest from staging once those jobs had completed. We issued a PR to Kates.io to actually initiate the promotion. We had that PR approved by release managers, right? Then we also checked the digests again on production after this PR had merged to see if the image promoter job had actually done the image promoter job, right? So now we're over in the test infra PR. The test infra PR is meant to actually flip any of the prow jobs that are using the older images to use the new images, right? So again, walking through this, it's a bit of a search and replace. One, we're using the canonical kates.gcr.io / name of your project / image name / your tag, right? As opposed to the region specific artifacts prod, artifact promoter, so on and so forth, right? So we're updating from the 241 image up to the 3.2.0 image. And you'll see, again, it's mostly search and replace here. But as Adolfo noted on the PR in review, some of the flags had changed between the 241 version and the 3.2.0 version. So you want to always make sure that the command that we're passing is the right command, or else the test will fail, right? So we went from just CIP to CIP run, right? And the reason that we've kind of like ergonomically, we want to do different things. We may want to do an audit versus a run, or we might want to generate the manifests. And as these two tools merge together, we want to make sure that they kind of fit in the right way. The two tools being the file promotion process as well as the image promotion process. I wanted to cover some of the file promotion stuff today, but we can do that in another demo. No biggie. But as part of the transition from 241 into 3.2.0, there was a PR to move this into, instead of using the flag set or the flag package within Go, we moved over to Cobra to match essentially the ergonomics of all the other release engineering tools, right? So with Cobra, you've got this, unless you're doing like a short variable declaration or something, you've got these you've got two hyphens for the flag instead, right? So we're updating the hyphens, we're adding that run, and then for the production jobs, we're adding this confirm flag. We flipped from dry run equals false to confirm. Confirm is a bit more positive, if that makes sense. Essentially what's happening with dry run equals false, there was a logic mismatch at some point, but for Golang, the Boolean default value is false, right? So if you have a flag called dry run and you don't have it wired to default value of true, if the flag is not set, its default value will be false, which means for runs that don't include the flag explicitly, they will be production runs. So we wanted to invert that logic. So now it's confirm. I really do want a production run of this, as opposed to dry run equals false, which is also true when it is not present, right? Very bad. So those are all the changes. And then, I also went to my local and I said, let me build the tool and just look through the flags really quickly to make sure that I am choosing the right flags, right? So that confirm flag that we talked about, the thin manifest directory flag, which is primarily what we use for the promotion of all projects. And then for a few of the jobs, we also use this vulnerability severity threshold flag. So that is, was that a good recap? Awesome, cool. All right, so it was a pleasure hanging out with you all. I hope that you enjoyed this live release, and we will try to think of more fun things to do coming up soon. Thanks, everyone. See you at the next one.
Thank you.